I know everybody's been bugging him about, are you going to retire and all this, and he's not ready to make that decision, and that's a good sign. Even if it is the end of his tenure in a Blackhawks uniform at the conclusion of this season, it would be nice to see Jonathan Toews still play hockey for a few more years. It's truly a pleasure getting to see one of the greatest to put on the Hawks sweater. Continue to, just be healthy for his own sake, and be healthy for his playing career sake as well. So it's good to see him back, and got on the score sheet right away. That's just classic Jonathan Toews, and it's really good to see him back, healthy and on the ice, Johnny.
I'll chime in here too. I think it's a little too early to know whether or not Jonathan Toews is going to actually hang him up. That said, we've already done this once with Patrick Kane this season, and had to go through sort of the heartbreak of watching a Blackhawks great don another uniform. Selfishly, I don't know if I'm ready for Jonathan Toews to go do that on top of Kaner being gone and having to go through free agent rumors of both Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane signing with other teams throughout the offseason. That just kind of feels like unnecessary daggers that we shouldn't really have to endure right now, but I get why we're going through it. But personally, I don't really want to fucking watch that, if I'm being honest with you guys. Just as a Hawks fan, I don't know if I want to watch that. Maybe there's a place for Jonathan Toews to come back on a 1-2 year deal with the Chicago Blackhawks. GM Ron has said many a times that they're going to need to sign free agents, and they're going to have to get to, what is it, cap floor, Ron? I'm not sure what you've determined yet that number is, but
it's enough.
It's enough. It's enough to get Jonathan Toews back here. I think it would be enough to get Patrick Kane back here. Not expecting either of those guys to come back, but I'm just gearing myself up for a lot of disappointment through this offseason and having to cover some unpleasant things to cover on the show as well as in written form over at ontapsportsnet.com.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there, Tony. We kind of went through the ringer with it, right? With trade rumors. And I know I will say it did get kind of squished on the Toews front there with the illness that he was dealing with. So that kind of took him out of the mix. But my God, we heard about Patrick Kane every single day since the beginning of the season. Shit, even in free agency last summer, possible, to trades scenarios being talked about, bandied about ever since then. So we kind of went through that and then having to do that in the free agent cycle there too, Tony. I think you bring up a good point that it's like, man, they're just like had enough of it. Like, can't we just focus on our prospects here and rebuilding and doing all of that? But hey, for Jonathan Toews being back, Ron, you'd mentioned it, scores in his first game. That was excellent. Getting him back there on a Saturday night in front of the United Center crowd, he said felt the roar. And it's something that, you try to be locked in for the game because you're focused on a task at hand, right? But he's like, it's hard to, not notice the crowd, and especially adding the meeting in of him, coming out and saying that these, he's coming to the realization that these could possibly be his last, days in a Blackhawks jersey. So it was great to see him back. I was surprised, definitely, with the timing of it. I thought it was going to be cutting it close and down to the wire because I knew we had this road trip coming up, and I was like, if he's not ready yet, is he really going to go on a road trip and jump in the middle of one of those? And it's like, no, it probably just makes sense for him to stay back and continue doing what he was doing there, and then try to gear up for that last Minnesota one and the very last one of the year at home there. But I was happy that he was back nonetheless, and then absolutely great assist to Andreas Athanasiou in that one. He just put it right on the doorstep, and all AA had to do was stick his damn stick out there, and it was in the net. So that's classic vintage Jonathan Toews. And one last thing I'll add on him is, hey, a good captain goes down with the ship, right? We had talked about it, and we said that after he was the only one remaining after the trade deadline, right after Domi went, after Patrick Kane's there. And so, Jonathan Toews, the captain, going down with the ship, but it was kind of a little hollow, right? Because he wasn't actually playing. Now that's actually in full effect here. And, the feels are starting to set in.